Well, bombshell new details revealed around Trump's would-be assassin, Thomas Matthew Crooks. Trump's would-be assassin, did he work for NATO? Did he have some sort of connections with NATO? This is being thrown around. And of course, that's on the speculation side. But why? Why would people be questioning that all of a sudden? Well, because thanks to the New York Post last night and this bombshell report, Trump's shooter Thomas Crooks had encrypted messaging accounts in Belgium, Germany, and New Zealand. I'm just going to read directly from this piece, if you don't mind. So Trump rally gunman Thomas Matthew Crooks used encrypted messaging accounts on various platforms, located in Belgium, New Zealand, and Germany, according to a member of the congressional task force investigating his assassination attempt against former President Trump. Representative Michael Waltz of Florida, who is an Army Special Forces veteran, and he's one of 13 lawmakers right now who's on this task force, on this bipartisan task force looking into this. He told reporters that he thinks that these overseas accounts show that, in fact, he was not acting alone. I mean, this is what? You have a sitting member of Congress saying that he believes that this has raised his suspicion that he likely wasn't acting alone, and certainly immediately regarding the shooter's movements, saying that these overseas accounts piqued his suspicion immediately regarding the shooter's motives. Who was he talking to? Quoting him now. Why does a 19-year-old kid who's a healthcare aide need encrypted platforms not even based in the United States but based abroad, where most terrorist organizations know it's harder for our law enforcement to get into, asked Waltz.
Now, Clayton, you have been a 19-year-old boy in Pennsylvania. How many encrypted overseas accounts, or how many people did you communicate when you were 19 and politically interested that were in other countries such as these?
To me, as a 19-year-old kid in Pennsylvania, yes, I grew up outside of Philadelphia. To me, Europe seemed like Mars.
Right.
Like none of my friends had like a connection to Belgium,
right?
or New Zealand, or Germany, or NATO. I mean, no, that was
bloodlines, or the German club, or things like that, or foreign exchange students. Maybe one out of a whole school would go.
Now, granted, I graduated high school in 1995, so we didn't have, I had bulletin board systems where my friends and I would log in and play video games,
sure,
like on our bulletin board, but it was all text based. You'd log in and make your move, and then like a day later you'd log in again. And a dial-up modem. Now, of course, you've got cell phones and all of these things. But how is a 19-year-old kid? Why would he need these?
This is highly irregular. I think we can agree.
And we also know that Crooks was shooting guns at the same training ground as the Department of Homeland Security. So that's curious. So why would he be talking? Why would he have encrypted apps that are located in, at the heart of NATO? And why would he be training at the same gun training center as Department of Homeland Security? It's all very interesting. Mike Benz.
I mean, this guy really did not want to go incognito at all. Right, walking around with ladders and training where law enforcement was.
Right, being out in broad daylight. So there was no incognito in this. He was like the anti-Batman.
Yes.
He was like daylight Batman. So here's Mike Benz, cybersecurity expert, says kind of weird. A 20-year-old kid in Pennsylvania shooting guns at the same gun range used by DHS agents had an encrypted messaging account in Belgium where NATO is headquartered. Kind of weird, Mike Benz says. Congressman Walz says the evidence has led him to believe that Crooks didn't act alone. I mean, what? Sitting member of Congress says the evidence that he's looked at on this task force says that he believes that Crooks didn't act alone.
Well, okay, this is Representative Michael Waltz from Florida, not Walz, the Democratic vice president.
Walz from Minnesota.
Does not seem to care very much. They are very incurious, the Democratic Party, about this.
There's no way a 20-year-old kid has a detonator, 3 bombs, he said, encrypted messaging platforms, based abroad, seen walking around for more than an hour beforehand and totally ignored, according to Congressman Walz. So Crooks, here he is. So this new video released over the past 48 hours shows Crooks at 4:26 p.m. before the assassination attempt. You can see him here just lollygagging around. And as friend of the show, Dan Bongino, pointed out, where was the CSU, the counter surveillance unit, with this? For an hour beforehand, like they are trained to study these types of individuals who are sort of by themselves. They look totally out of place. This guy, more than anything, looks totally out of place.
Well, why do you say that?
Compared to the vendors and the other individuals that are there ahead of time setting up.
I don't know. This walk in and of itself does not raise suspicion.
Okay, but that's just one little snippet. And the only reason we have this video is because one of the vendors was there early setting up.
Right.
And so he was just sort of panning with his camera, and he realized later that he had this on his camera.
You don't know that this guy doesn't, have a local bee shop and is just walking back to the truck for something. But
a local bee shop. Maybe. Okay. I'm just saying.
The fact
I'm not a counter surveillance operative.
Though, I mean, think about how much they track us. That he has been in shooter training with DHS and in very suspicious. Yes. Then that should have raised the flags that that person who's been doing that is here and walking around alone and raising flags.
So more than all of this is what happened to his body. What happened to Crooks's body? Why did the FBI burn his body? Why did they cremate his body? The FBI secretly released would-be Trump assassin Thomas Crooks' body to be cremated before Representative Clay Higgins could examine it. According to a preliminary investigative report that's been released, the FBI cremated his body without telling anyone 10 days after the PA rally tragedy. So they took his body, and Clay Higgins. This is from Clay Higgins. My effort to examine Crooks' body on Monday, August 5th caused quite a stir and revealed a disturbing fact. The FBI released the body for cremation 10 days after July 13th. On July 23rd, Crooks was gone. Nobody knew this until Monday, August 5th, including the county coroner, law enforcement, sheriff, etc. Yes, Butler County coroner technically had legal authority over the body, but I spoke with the coroner and he would never have released Crooks' body to the family for a cremation or burial without specific permission from the FBI.
What?
What are you trying to hide? What are you trying to hide? You don't want us to know how he was killed, exactly what rounds took him out?
From which direction?
Which direction? What as part of the autopsy? I mean, it's unbelievable. And now we know from Real Clear Politics overnight, according to Susan Crabtree, Secret Service agents placed on leave after the Trump assassination attempt. So now and this is unbelievable because 3 weeks ago, according to Real Clear Politics, remember acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe was pushing back on this. Remember, he was like, we are not going to just randomly, place people on leave and all of this sort of stuff. And now they're on leave. Why are these individuals not fired? Why are they're just placed on administrative leave? That's like free vacation during August when everyone else is off enjoying their vacations. They get administrative leave. Administrative leave occurs when a federal employee temporarily leaves their position and work duties, either because of misconduct investigation, medical or mental health issues. They still receive pay and benefits. But those decisions, of course, are left to the agency leadership. And there seems to be this like back and forth now between the Pittsburgh, like the Butler Police Department, of course, and the Secret Service, and them throwing them back under the bus. But encrypted messaging platform in Belgium, where, as Mike Benz points out, it's very interesting that NATO is centered there. On top of that, you have all of these pieces of equipment that are found on his body from Representative Waltz, who's saying 3 bombs, detonators. Who was he working with? He now believes he was not acting alone. He's on the task force investigating this. And you have the FBI authorizing a cremation of his body, going around the investigation in order to cremate his body. To do what? To hide what? Be very interesting. Let us know what you think about this.
Yes, that is very damning. And I would like to know what his parents authorized. What did his family authorize?
Right.
Those are very strange data points.
Will we see any sort of autopsy examination? No, apparently not. We're not going to get to see that. Right. And I guess the task force also is not going to. And
when it comes to the JFK assassination, those were really important points. What direction did the bullet enter? Where did it come from? What was the trajectory? I guess we're not going to get that.
Calvin Johnstone in our chat says, and redacted, where was his body? Who took it? Where were the cameras? There was cameras all around there. Yeah, exactly. Who removed his body? How did they get it off the roof? Why don't we see that footage? We have the body cam footage. Who took it? Where did it go? Was it sitting in the county coroner's office for those 10 days before it was authorized to be cremated? Who did that?
Yeah.
It's stunning. I mean, but not really surprising at all. There are those, and I just want to be careful here because there are those kind of throwing around the idea that there's this Iranian plot, right? And I've been very cautious. I believe that is my personal humble opinion, that is a false flag. The idea that you're going to use Iran to get us into a large war, and using this, Roger Stone has been very outspoken against this, saying, don't believe it. Don't believe it. They're going to try to pin sort of a catalyst for World War III on Iran. They're trying to do it, so don't fall for it. And as people in our chat are pointing out, it was an inside job inside the United States government. Let us know your thoughts on this, but it's deeply troubling.